So, so I'll introduce her in just a moment, but also to remind you what you will have a reminder on the screen about, that we will be recording the talks this morning, but not the breakout rooms. So we have a sentence of scripture just to put everything in context, and we just have a moment of prayer. So, as the Father loves me, so I also love you. Remain in my love. So we ask that our hearts are opened this morning, that we hear what the Lord needs us to hear, and that we remain in our longing for health and healing for each other, for all people and the world, that we remain always in the context of God's love. Amen.
Amen.
So it's my great pleasure to introduce Gillian. It sounds ridiculous to say that she knows what she's talking about, because we trust that all our speakers always do. But actually, she knows more about healing from pretty well every context, intellectual, physical, spiritual, personal, than most people. So I'm sure she'll tell you her story as we progress through all of this. And we look forward to learning with our hearts and our minds in God's love this morning. So let me just hand over to Gillian. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gilly. And thank you to Caroline and for the rest of the team for the invitation to speak to you all this morning. I think I've still got Gilly on Spotlight. Here we are. Okay. So it's good to see you and hear you. Thanks for the wave, Richard. So as Gilly said, my name is Gillian. We've got two Gillians going on today. And I'm an Anglican priest, originally from Scotland. But before I became an Anglican priest, I trained as a scientist. My PhD's in physics. So I've got a long interest in the crossover between faith and science, between religion and the study of the natural world. I'm also a cancer survivor. So I was diagnosed with advanced cancer when I was 21, have had an experience of complex healing from a life-threatening illness. So when this job came up to run the Guild of Health in St. Raphael, which is all about healing, which is a long association and interest in science, combined with a real passion for what can happen in our communities. I just knew this was a job for me. I've been a chief exec for coming up to 80 years now. It's a delight to run this organization, which has actually been around for 120 years this year. As well, so it's our anniversary. So we're the Guild of Health in St. Raphael, but we also call ourselves Go Health for short. We think it's got a bit more energy than our long name. And we're an ecumenical Christian charity that have been doing this stuff for over 120 years. A real focus on the Christian healing ministry. So Jesus told us in all four Gospels to go make disciples and heal. What does that mean today? And we've always done it since our inception in conversation with medical science and with our communities, taking an holistic approach to what it means to be human and what our health is. So that makes us unique amongst the UK healing organisations. So let me put up my slides so you don't have to look at me. It's better. Let's have a look. Right. Can somebody nod? Can you see that? You see my slides? They're showing okay. Great. Thanks a lot. So this is what we're doing. I hope you all think you're in the right place. Right. What am I doing? Let me see if I can get the slide to move. There we are. Is it going to stick? Right. So this morning, I've got a wee plan of what we're going to go through. And it's a mixture of me talking, giving some information about my organization, but also a flavor of how we do it as well. So we'll have some breakout rooms, some chance for discussion as well. I want to tell you a little bit of our vision, what we think is important when we talk about the healing ministry of Jesus Christ, the need that we see in the world today, and how we answer that need. My little bit of content, because I've got so much I want to say to you all, so I had to decide what bit am I going to share. I wanted to give a bit of theology and our thinking about how we get from our understanding of healing into talking about flourishing. Because for us, and I'm going to be on repeat the whole 2 hours, the healing ministry is not just a sideshow of the church. At the Guild, we believe it is the central ministry, and has always been the central ministry of those who follow Jesus Christ. From the very earliest disciples, putting healing at the center, it remains at the center of what it means to be a Christian today, to try to usher in the kingdom of God, to be a person of healing today. And to do that, we do lots of training and resourcing and all sorts of different things, but we're not just skilling you up to do a bit of healing on the side or how you do your ministry. We see the healing ministry as central to our vocations to be Christian today. So I want to talk a bit about that journey from the theology of healing into our vocation to be healers. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that we offer at the Guild, our everyday healing course, which is our main way into our world. I want to talk about how we connect into the academy today, because there's a lot of good study about the role of spirituality in human health happening in our universities and with experts around the world. But a lot of the time, it doesn't get to the people in need on the ground. So we see as part of our works is to go in and ask these really clever researchers, studying things like, you know, the impact of prayer, or how does being part of a community help with pain relief, things like that. We talk to these people and we help create resources to help people on the ground, to help you. I want to talk about our Go Health community, which is our membership community, but it is our movement to help change the world. We've got online courses talk about some of the bespoke work. And if you hang on to the very end, I'm going to give you a special offer as well with our work as well. So that's an incentive, if nothing else. We were going to have discussion groups, that was mentioned before, and we will maybe take a 5-minute break, if that's okay. Sorry, I didn't clear this with the... we don't think it's very healthy to sit in front of your computer for 2 hours without a break. So I'm going to break at one point. It's up to you what you do then. Stretch your legs, get a cup of tea, look out the window, whatever it is. We'll have a 5-minute break in the middle, just so everyone can look after their bodies and their minds as we think about how we're going to help others in the healing ministry. So let me pop out my share. It would be lovely to hear from a few of you what you hope to get out of this morning. What is your interest in the healing ministry? Perhaps type your answer, or if you feel, just turn on your microphone and let me know. What do you hope to get out of this morning? Why have you given up?
Confidence and courage in praying for people and encouraging people in healing, especially Christians.
Especially
Christians.
Confidence and courage. Thank you, Margaret. Did you read our website before you came? That's like...
No,
Confidence and courage.
I didn't know there was a website. I'll read it now.
Confidence and courage, meaning from the heart. You know, I think that's the heart of what we do. Mary's written to understand the resources available to help support people in their healing ministry. Thank you, Mary. Richard, a training resource and seeking God's will. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, discernment is such a key part of the healing ministry, because there's like a billion things we could do. What is God calling me to do in my community? Thank you so much. Caroline, Bruce, feel they know where they could go if they want to explore healing vocation. Yeah, thank you. Literally what you said, integrate into every encounter. You're at the hospital, Sarah. Thank you as well. Yeah, it would be good if you've got a moment, just type what your context is. his church or into chaplaincy, that'd be really interesting as well. Use the chat facility. Anyone else want to add? I can't tell if Adam is looking for the unmute button.
I know where unmute is. I was just finding where chat is.
Okay. Okay. Great. Right. Thank you. Well, thank you for sharing. Please do continue to use the chat facility about what you hope to get out of today. And I hope to fulfill it, right? Okay, I hope that, I'm sure it will. From what I've heard so far, it's looking good. Let me go back to my... So I want to tell you a bit more about our purpose and our vision. So basically, we offer training in the healing ministry of the church. We definitely do that. But for me and the team, it is so much more than just offering a bit of training, as important as that is. What we think we're doing, what we hope we're doing, is creating a movement of people who understand that at the center, being a Christian means flourishing in all seasons of life, if we think the resurrection means anything. And being Christian means being a healing presence to others. If you're a preacher with a dog collar, that might mean running a healing service, great sermons, celebrating the Eucharist, whatever it is. If you're not, your vocation to be a healing presence is just as powerful and strong and important, because you all know the healing power of having a cup of tea, saying, how are you? And listening to the answer right, of the welcome we get at the church door. So many different ways we can be a healing presence. So we understand we're creating a movement of people who are empowered, who are inspired, what Margaret said earlier, who are confident and courageous about being the healing presence today. And we do that not because we think it's a good idea, we've just made it up. We do that because we understand this is the central ministry of the church. On the pod this week, we just released, I spoke to Amanda Porterfield, who is a historian of Christianity, and her thesis is that actually the early church flourished because of the healing ministry. What does that mean for the world we actually live in today? Taking science seriously and acknowledging, you know what? It's tough to be a Christian today as well. So let's take the world seriously. Let's the world as it actually is, not how we wish it was. We resource, we train to help you do all that. So the summary of that is that we exist to equip and inspire churches and individual Christians to be a presence of healing in the world for the benefit of all, with the overall vision that we want to have flourishing communities made up of flourishing individuals. So it's a big vision, but we're pretty committed to it, and we've seen signs that it's going well. I want to name a number of threads that run through all of our work. And so to give you an expansive vision of what we're really about. So when we say well-being, we understand that that lies at the intersection of faith, robust science, evidence-based healthcare, and flourishing communities. That is holistic health. We're not talking about magic tricks to get things better. There's a holistic understanding of what it means to be well in the world today. And our spiritual life is core to that. A key part of that. So our health is linked to our communities, with our minds, body, and spirit, also with the wider world, right? I can't be well if not everyone can be well. We're aware of what's happening around the world. We're aware of the global climate crisis. Health and healing is also about acknowledging that. Healthcare, NHS, however you define it, does not have the monopoly on health. We've all got our parts to play in our own health. But the church and the faith is a key part of healthcare today. We see science and medicine as gifts from God. We've got much to learn, but they don't have the monopoly on what is healing, because we've got the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. That's the kind of the summary of that. The church is called to heal. History and evidence shows that when the church takes healing seriously, it grows. We believe our place, the Guild of Health and St. Raphael, is part of a wider movement pursuing health and well-being for all, but we've got a distinctive contribution to bring. And you know what? This last one's really important to me and the team as well. We are empowered by God, but we're on the same journey as everybody else. Okay, we don't think we're perfect. We're part of what we're teaching as well. And we're honest and open about all of that. Just a little bit of our history. Anyone recognize this guy? This is Percy Dearmer, famous English Anglican priest, best known for writing the Parson's Handbook and editing the English hymnal. He's got a number of hymns in it. He's one of the founders of the Guild of Health in St. Raphael. Just want to say a little bit about him because it illustrates what we're really about. So he was a socialist, deeply concerned with social justice and improving the living conditions of the exploited and the oppressed. And he was really inspired to form Go Health from his experience in World War I. He was a chaplain, he served on the front line, and he worked with his wife actually on the front line. They were both in a Serbian field hospital during the war where she sadly died. And when he came back from the war, he co-founded the Guild of Health in St. Raphael with a goal of studying the relationship of mind, spirit, and body in matters of health and healing. So really remarkable stuff. Early advocate from the idea that what goes on in your mind and your spiritual life can affect the body. 1904, you know, that we're still studying that. So right there at the very inception, an organization that can really do something about global issues of health and healing, the impact of the individual and how our health is linked in a holistic way. I need a clear vision that the spiritual healing offered by faith should be brought together with the medical healthcare profession. And he saw this is what he thought the guild was for. Our job is through observation and with fair minds and friendly hearts, enlarge the area of agreement between doctors and faith healers and to seek after truth. So an early emphasis on the passion for the suffering, the role of the church, the connection with medicine and science. And I love that, fair minds and friendly hearts. There's untold stories actually in our history that I'd love to get into more. A lot of women without any power, without any dog collars, really supporting the whole early inception of the guild there. So, but that's a story for another day. But so this is how we started. This is how it's going. So that's me, obviously. I don't think I've aged too much, with the core team there. So when Graham, the chap in the middle, he lives in Glasgow. He formerly worked for the Church of Scotland, head of all the resourcing, and Graham delivers the Everyday Healing course that I'll tell you about later. He also produces our online self-led courses. He's a fantastically empathetic person. He's a great facilitator. I know that Caroline and a few others have done courses with him. He also does a lot of other course development with the Guild. Right now we're developing a course on spiritual intelligence. And various other things. He's done our trauma course as well. He's doing an environmental course for us as well. All content for our members, or you can pay to be part of any course that interests you. He also does our taster sessions, our online gatherings as well. He's a liturgist and a facilitator. And together we work with other organizations as well on content creation. We've got a contract with the YMCA to train their chaplains, also with the Church of Scotland and a few others as well. So that's Graham. Wendy at the back there. Wendy is also an interesting, fascinating person. She lives on the Isle of Mull. She's a crofter and is also a spiritual writer, spiritual director, and a pilgrimage expert. She takes people on pilgrimages with her horses, carrying the bags. She formerly worked for Christian Aid. She now also works with the Iona community as well as with us in the Go Health community. And she does all the resourcing for our members organization, the Go Health community. So right now she's writing about our new series is called Healing Histories. We're diving into our own history to look at things like genetic inheritance, structural injustice, pilgrimage, and so on, to understand healing needs from personal history and community history. She writes our Advent course and our Lent course. It's free for all members at the right time of year. She produces our podcast as well. And she's one of those people, she's just got a turn of phrase. She's brilliant prayer writer. So in times of need, national emergency, she writes our prayer content, and that's free to the world. And I do get a lot of comments and feedback on that. She's just done a beautiful one on Gaza and Israel. So that's us, that's a team, but really we're also all of our members. I can't show them all on screen. And we see ourselves as a small team. We know stuff. We work hard to create resources and moments of connection that are real, but we see ourselves as part of this journey together. And I hope good old Percy Dearmer will be proud of what we're doing today as it follows what he starts. It's what he started, sorry. Right. And I want to say what matters to us. And this is really important. I can tell you about the courses till I'm blue in the face, but this is what's really important. This sort of underpins everything we do, whether it's a gathering, whether it's our everyday healing course, whether it's a Go Health community, whether it's an email you send and we respond to you. Our orientation to our work is that every single one of us here is already a healer. Whether you're experienced, and I know some of you are, in laying on of hands, or prayer ministry or anointing, and some of you are not. We can all make a cup of tea and say, how are you? We can all connect with another human being and care. We can all listen. So we are we're all healers here. And together we've got the capacity and the potential, whatever our life is, right? Whether we're leading communities or part of a community, or you're housebound and all you can do is pray, we can all offer the healing ministry of Jesus Christ. In all of our training, we also start with the perception that you are experts in your life and you're the experts in your community. So particularly our everyday healing course, but others, we're not coming with a one-size-fits-all approach to healing ministry. We're not alpha, as the great alpha is, right? We're not just going to say, do our course, buy our merch, you're part of our crowd. We come with an understanding that you know the your healing needs. You know the healing needs of your community, and it's your job to tune into how God is calling you to be a healing presence today. And we will come alongside you in that journey. So discernment is a really important thing in this. And we also major on stories. So the kind of technical term is person-centered learning, but on the power of stories to change the world. When we listen to stories, when we tell our stories, when somebody listens to our stories, we connect to ourselves, connect to our communities, and connect to God, which ultimately is the healing ministry, a connection to the God who loves us so much. That's healing, right? So having just said it's all about stories and it's all about connections, I would like to invite you to a breakout room. I'm going to go back to the good practice slide in a second. So one of the facilitators here is organizing us into breakout rooms of just 3 or 4 people, so that you've got a time to share your story. I'm going to invite you to share a time when your faith has in some way contributed to a sense of healing or flourishing. So just tune into your story. Think of something you'd like to share with the group. And as we listen to one another, let me go back. And these are really, this is that Bath and Wells guidelines for good breakout rooms and conversations, but these are really, really important as well. So let me just touch on that. So in your group, it's really important, first of all, to have your camera on, if possible. If not, chat so that people feel safe, that you're communicating within the group. Everything that you say in the group is confidential. I won't have you back in the main room and say, tell me what you said. Okay, you can tell me if you want. But an understanding that what's shared in that room is confidential and for that room only as well. So we won't pick up on it in the main session. So confidential, and but with the usual safeguarding bracket around that. Practicing appreciative inquiry. That's a lovely phrase. So ask questions to understand, not to pick holes. The healing ministry is one. We've all got our own understanding of the miracles and what happens in prayer. There's a wide variety of theologies, I'm sure, here this morning. So asking questions, listen to understand. Guided by God's wisdom through the Holy Spirit, so an understanding that we're having these conversations in the Spirit of God, honoring diversity. We've all have unique experiences, unique takes on the world, and that's fantastic, actually. That's to be celebrated. And so this is a listening one. There's no feedback really required, but listening there. So let me just go back to remind you the question. Share a time when your faith has in some way contributed to a sense of healing and flourishing. We'll have 15 minutes in the breakout rooms, so I'm going to stop sharing, and someone's going to make that happen. So see you after 15 minutes. I hope these are encouraging and flourishing conversations. Fina, we are recording again. I hope you had a good conversation with your group. I think back in the same groups, is that right, Sue? So you'll see the same people again.
Yes, that should be the case.
That's great. Okay, right. So welcome back. Right, let me share my screen again. So what do I want to do now? Let me share my screen here. So I want to give a little bit of input now. And this is drawn from our Everyday Healing course, which I'll tell you a bit more about towards the end. And I chose this bit of content because it's sort of at the core of everything we do. So it's how we link the healing ministry with our own vocations to be healers. But it also wraps into that another key part of the Guild. Our Go Health approach is provocatively, unashamedly looking after our own well-being while we're doing all of this stuff. You don't need me to tell you that the ministry, full stop, being Christian, full stop, Christian healing ministry can be a costly endeavor. Living in the world right now anyway is stressful. We're all suffering from the effects of the collective trauma of the pandemic. A report came out in the British Medical Journal last month that says in the UK we are living shorter, less healthy lives as well. So health in general is tough, particularly in deprived communities. And we're also living in a time with huge instability around climate, around war in Europe as well. So we're living in tough times. And so if we really want to be healing presences, do the healing ministry, however we're called to do that, then we want to look after ourselves as well. Our bodies. Somebody went for a 5-mile run in this group already this morning, is already looking after his body. Not everybody can run, but in what ways can we look after our bodies? In what ways can we look after our emotional health, our mental health, and how do we look after our spiritual health? So that's why I want to wrap in the healing ministry with our vocation to be healers, with looking after ourselves in the process. So here we go. So this is the traditional healing ministry of the Christian Church. In the Everyday Healing course, I recorded a video about this. I've recorded all the content for that course. And if you do the course, in this video, I nearly cry at the end. I'm a very emotional person because there's a video and I talk about all these different types of healing ministries, the traditional healing ministry of the church. And I end the video with saying, we don't believe there's any newfangled healing ministry. This has been the healing ministry for the last 2,000 years. And this is the healing ministry we have today. And it can change the world. And I got all emotional because I really passionately believe it. I believe that through these 7 ways that we can offer the love of Christ into our communities, we can genuinely change the world. First of all, the Eucharist. We're ecumenical, so there's different takes on the primacy of it, what it means, and all the rest of it. But in general, the primary healing moment, where with angels and archangels and all the heavenly company, we can connect into God, who never not loves us, as Jim Finley says, where we can take our burdens, our are things that need healed, the communities we worry about, the people we're worried about. Take it and for a moment connect in with the broken body and blood of Christ, who knows us more than we can imagine. Anointing the sick or the dying as well, with holy oil in the Anglican tradition, blessed in the cathedral every Maundy Thursday. Taken out a very key ministry. What I love particularly about anointing is it's how we understand it. It's not just nice smelling oil to give to a sick person. We put the cross on the head and on the palms and the feet if that's your tradition. You're recalling the baptism, that this person is a beloved child of Christ. And just like we anoint with oil kings and priests and whatever, and ordinations, everything, saying, you've got a special mission. When we go to the ill and anoint them, we're saying, you're not just a sick person unable to do anything. You are, remember, you are a beloved of God with a special mission right now. It's a very powerful ministry. Similarly with the laying on of hands, when somebody comes to you, if this is a ministry you engage in, and we do training in it, if it's not, maybe they tell you their name and what's going on, and you lay your hands on them to connect them into the love of Jesus Christ in that moment. A really intimate, really powerful ministry. I've done it many times, especially if there's lots of people. Everyone's carrying something, right? Everyone needs healing, and I'm always reminded of that when I do big laying on of hands stuff. God, what people carry as well, and a real privilege to do that ministry. The absolutions, the reconciliation, reconciling people with God when they seek forgiveness as well. A really powerful ministry. Again, and interesting, the medical psychological science around the importance of unburdening ourselves from what we're worried about, and the holistic healing impact of that, as well as what we understand spiritually to be going on, to reconnect once again a God who didn't stop loving us, but we felt at a distance from. The exorcism or deliverance ministry, when people come to the church, come to Christians with worries about spirits or connections from the past, where there's a sense of dis-ease and uneasiness, a specialist ministry of the church. Within the Anglican Church, it's one that's done under the auspices of the bishop, especially trained prayers, priests, often religious, but also psychological experts as well. One was probably more familiar, ongoing care, pastoral ministry, the blimmin' cup of tea after church. How much healing happens over the cup of tea? How to listen well, how to offer presence in the world. There's a lovely Selina Stone, who wrote the Archbishop of Canterbury's Lent book. It's called Tarry a While. You know, a ministry of tarrying, of just being alongside, of listening. What do we think we're doing when we do that as healers as well? And finally, helping people to die well, a key healing ministry. Healing ministry can't always be just about getting better, because we will all face death. So what does healing mean when we face death? So these are the traditional ministries of the church. We could do hours on each of them, just a taster, right? But the key to this, and what we do at the Guild, is we help people, we help all of us, I include myself in this, understand why we're doing it. And this is absolutely key. We need a really strong, really useful, very practical, very holistic theology of healing when we're doing any of this or engage in any healing ministry, to understand what we think we're doing. Because that's the question, isn't it? When people say, oh, you think you're doing a healing ministry, you said you'd pray for my granny and she died. What do you think? You've just promised me something you didn't deliver. And we've all had experience of that, saying, you know, offering healing, but it doesn't appear to work out. People are then disappointed, people are angry, people don't think it matters as well. So to counteract that and to give ourselves confidence and courage, as Margaret said at the start, we need to understand the underpinning of these traditional healing ministries to get a good theology of healing if we're going to be healing presences in the world. Let me get my mouse over. So let's just do that. So this is super quick. Let's just really quickly, I'll show you my workings. Remember at school when you do your math sums, you're like, got to show your working. This is a bit of the working about how we get our theology of healing in the Guild. Three key elements that we've woven into our theology of healing is going right back to basics. What does the Bible say? about illness, about sickness, about healing, and about flourishing. There is a surprising amount of information in our biblical words. For example, the Hebrew word for sickness or illness is chala. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I don't have Hebrew. Chala, I think, Chalah. It's translated sickness, but its root is with an Arabic root, which suggests something more like being worn down, being rubbed down. And in the Arabic, it's the same word that you use for polishing up things so they shine. So being rubbed down, being worn down by sickness, same word as being polished up and shining. Is there something in that word that's telling us that illness and sickness are terrible, is an opportunity to go deeper into our the beautiful way God sees us in our lives? Another word, so the Greek word for one of the Greek words for healing or cure is therapio, which is like our English word therapy or therapeutics, having somebody attending you or aiding you on your journey. Another word for healing and cure in the Greek is sozos. So that's used to describe Jesus' healing, sozos. He did a bit of sozos, but sozos is also used for untranslated salvation. So when we talk about healing within our Christian tradition, we mean getting better, we mean getting healed. But the sozos there to salvation reminds us that whatever healing possibilities we have in this life for our mind, for our bodies, and we all want to be better, we don't want to suffer. We need to know that our ultimate healing comes beyond death in salvation. That's a key part of it as well. Another key, one more, wholeness. So the word wholeness in the Hebrew Bible is shalom, that you all know is peace. So what we're doing in our healing ministry is helping people find wholeness of mind, wholeness of body, wholeness of spirit, so that they can find peace in this life, perhaps when thinking also of the next. So in getting our theology of healing, that's just, a few little bits from it. Let's tie in the very deep and rich understanding of health and healing that we have in our Bible. We also take in, as Christians, what on earth was going on in those healing miracles of Jesus. So one scholar's worked out that Jesus spent a lot of his time healing, up to 40% of his time. I don't know how he worked that out. He spent a lot of time doing it, right? What do the healing miracles tell us? They tell us broadly two groups of stuff. The healing miracles, first of all, tell us about who Jesus was. They tell us that he had the power to do this, that he was connected into God, that they showed that he was the Messiah. So there's kind of the showing who Jesus was, understanding of the healing miracles. But the healing miracles also give us key information about what healing is. Because every single person Jesus healed would have got sick and died again, right? So yes, they are about, in some ways, getting better, but that is simply not the end of the story. What all the healing miracles show us is the person who was healed was then able to connect back into their community, which meant being able to connect into the temple once again. And for Jews at the time, connecting into the temple was not just social life, right? Connecting into the temple was connecting into the reconciliation with God. All the healing miracles are really about helping a person connect back into their community, being able to connect with God, irrespective of what happened later. So let's take that into our theology of healing. That's what we'd help people to do. Get better, who knows? God, that's God's bit in it, right? But healing is always about helping that person reconcile with themselves, with community, and ultimately with God, right? So let's take that for our theology of healing, but let's also understand what health is, right? One of those words, health, you think you know what it means, then you start thinking about it, and you're like, whoa, this is a bit more complicated than I thought. Let's just look at that. So what is health? The World Health Organization says it is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. Well, that was written in 1948, and about 20 minutes later, somebody said, well, hang on a second, it didn't include spiritual health. And there's been a few amendments, but ultimately that's a really poor understanding of health. That's what we think happens when you get to heaven, right? Complete health, physical, mental, and social. The World Council of Churches, I think this is a better definition of health, a dynamic state of well-being of the individual and society, of physical, mental, spiritual, economical, political, and social well-being. Right, so they've got a more holistic understanding of being in harmony with each other, with the environment, and with God. So I think that's a much better, if you had to choose, and you don't have to choose, that's a better understanding of what health is, what we're helping people get back to with the healing ministry. But I want to throw in this other one from Jürgen Moltmann, which is a bit more provocative and radical, but I love it. Health is the strength to live, the strength to die, the strength to suffer and the strength to die. Health is not a condition of my body, it is the power of my soul to cope with varying degrees of that body. I love this. It's pure Pauline stuff. It is pure resurrection stuff. We still have sin in the world, so stuff's going to go wrong, right? But health is being empowered to live despite that. So a really energetic one. So then we come to our let's pack in the biblical words. We've just done a little bit. Pack in what Jesus did, what it meant, and pack in what we hope people to get back to. This is our working theology of health in the Guild. Working theology of healing. Christian healing does not necessarily mean getting better, but is an experience which leads to an holistic, positive change in self-identity and an increase in well-being. It is a transformational experience in which the ill, or indeed everyone, I think we all need this, are reconciled with their status as beloved children of God, when we resonate with God's love and find peace. Part of the transformation might be a sense that we see the world anew, that we have new vision, that we have new purpose. It's a life-giving transformation which leads to a reframing of circumstances. Healing is about reconciliation and human flourishing. I want to say a bit more about flourishing. Depending on who I'm talking to, sometimes I use the word healing, sometimes I use the word flourishing. Healing can be a red flag for some people. Flourishing, I think, is important. Bonhoeffer says this: Christian flourishing is less about the pursuit of health at all costs and more about fulfilling the purpose of our life. Health is good, health is often needed to do a whole host of work, but health needs to be placed in an eschatological perspective. Health is the penultimate goal, not an ultimate one. And what I love about this is that he talks about Christian flourishing as about fulfilling the purpose of our life. We all have unique purposes that we are trying to fulfill with the help of God. Karl Barth, I don't have a slide, says that we find flourishing when we find alignment with body, mind, and soul. And when we find that alignment, we find our vocation. So this is a really embodied understanding of what vocation is. We take our own health seriously, and when we find that, we find a sense of what we need to do in the world, how we need to be healing presences for others. So it's a really holistic understanding of the healing ministry. That by caring for ourselves, our minds, body, and soul, by believing, sometimes it is really hard to believe that we are utterly beloved by God, that we have power, that we have choice. Finding that vocation to be will inspire us, push us out, give us courage, give us energy to be the healing presence. A deeply attractive model as well. How unattractive it is to have exhausted Christians going, God, come to church is great. We're all knackered. No, Christianity should be finding a sense of vocation, of purpose, of unity within our body, mind, and soul, so that we can carry on this ministry to be a person of healing. So that's a wee touch about kind of the background. A good theology of ministry, a good theology of healing can inspire the work of the church. That's vitally important. But more than that, it's alongside that, underneath that, underpinning that is an important sense that we find our own vocation to be healers when we take our own health and healing seriously too. It's really holistic. I want now to just chat a bit about, in fact, let me just pause. I feel like I've talked too much. Let's just take 2 minutes. Where you are now, just have a bit of silence to process some of that. Maybe jot down a question that's brought up for you, or something you want to share. We're going to go into small groups at the end. Let's just take 2 minutes of quiet reflection or journaling, if that's helpful. Just in the main room, no need for breakout rooms. Shall we just stand up? I invite you now, let's just stand up and have a bit of a break, have a bit of a stretch, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you. Sorry, I said I was going to have a break and entirely forgot. Got carried away with my presentation. So let's stop, have 2-minute break, wandering around, and if we come back at 11:50, this records. Yeah. Right, welcome back, everyone. I'd like to take the opportunity to say a bit more about our actual products isn't the right word, but how we actually do this in the real world and where you might want to get involved. And I'll just go through them all, and then we're going to breakout rooms again, maybe 15 minutes, and that's your chance to see what God's doing right now. What's tickled your fancy? What's piqued your interest? What are you wanting to know more about? Those kind of questions. So let me share my screen. Does that look okay, Sue? Yeah, thank you. So the Everyday Healing course, I've called it Our World, by which I mean it's sort of like our gateway into the way we approach our world. So the theology of healing, and we touch on the theology of healing, its connection to the Bible, the miracles of Jesus. We talk about theodicy, we talk about lament, we talk about how to do the healing ministry well in the world as it is as well. So there's a lot of content. We touch on trauma, we touch on good practice in the healing ministry, which is all the legal stuff you need to know, safeguarding, good practice, keeping yourself well, keeping others well, and lots of space to discuss what this means in practice to you. And then there's a good chunk on discernment as well. Graham Fender Allison, who I introduced to you earlier, has done a lot of training in this, and he's fantastic at helping you to identify where God's calling you in your life, in your community, what your next steps are in order to put this into practice in your community. It's run online, just like we are today, 4 2-hour sessions, generally in the evenings, but we can do day courses as well. It comes with a very wide and deep curricula. It's me, recorded videos of me speaking, maybe a bit too quickly because there's so much to tell you. And then Graham facilitating you through a course. What people love about the course, you get a workbook with it as well. The feedback we've had is people like the stuff I say in the videos. It's good stuff, but what they really value is a chance to connect with others in it. A lot of breakout rooms, questions to help it get into your guts, if that's not a weird thing to say, that you can touch in with your own experiences, your own background of health and healing, really. And that's really vital, I think. We're going to be healers. We have to come to terms with what we've been through. And a safe space, fun. It's actually quite fun. There's usually laughter, and sometimes tears. People connect into their stuff, and that's what people really value in the course, and they come back and want more of that kind of stuff afterwards. It's £50 for an individual to go on it. That includes a workbook and everything that comes with it, or 150 if you want to take a group from your church or your chaplaincy or your multi-parish benefice, whatever it is, to take a group through the course with you. The dates are on the screen there as well. And if you want to talk about the course and how the course might be useful to you in your ministry, then do get in touch. That leads on, or can lead on. So the type of people who do this course, people who are interested, vicars, ministers who want to take a group on the church, come on the course themselves to check it out, then want to take a group with them. We've got people who want to inspire their vicar to do this. They come on the group. Lots of chaplaincies, people who are very inexperienced in it, people who are very experienced in it. Quite often people who've been through something as well, and then So why for outcome on the course? If you do the course, you can apply to become one of our Healthy Healing Hubs. So our Healthy Healing Hubs are churches. A group has done the Everyday Healing course, and they want to join in with that movement that I talked about earlier to put the healing ministry back at the center of church mission. To join the Healthy Healing Hub network, you need to have done the course, sign up to our Good Charter in the healing ministry. It costs £10 a month thereafter, and you will get promoted on our website, access to a whole bunch of online courses, access to more resourcing, and special events, and key is an access to a supportive community of people who think a bit like you. And that's been actually a bit surprising to me. I thought it was going to be everything we give to our healing hubs, but the feedback's been the network of churches who are interested in this, learning from one another. So for example, I had a church up in Scotland, and they wanted to set up sort of like a community health hub or something. And they were chatting about it. I said, well, actually, we have trouble with the legal side and working with the council. And I said, well, actually, I've got a healing hub down in South London. They've done this. They know this. I don't know about how to work with the council in this, but put you together. And they got their answers really quickly. So that's been a really positive part of our Healthy Healing Hub network. This is I don't usually show a picture of Tony Christie in my presentation, but one of our Healthy Healing Hubs, Lichfield Cathedral, is on Songs of Praise on Sunday with a dementia-friendly service. Tony Christie has lives with dementia as well, so part of their healing ministry. I don't expect you all to get Songs of Praise in, but they've got a real focus on dementia ministry as part of their healing ministry offering at the cathedral, and it's on TV 3:15 on Sunday if you watch Songs of Praise. So that's the Healthy Healing Hub network. The Go Health community is our membership community, which membership community makes it sound really dull, like you just get a badge or something. It's the place. It's where we're building our movement of Christians who want to take their health seriously, who want to be a healing presence in the world, and they want to. This sounds rather ambitious. They want to change the world through their faith in Jesus Christ. So this is a growing community of people, mostly in the UK. We've got a few international members who have joined our community. What you get is weekly, you usually get weekly resourcing on the healing ministry. We try to model looking after ourselves. So we do 3 big series a year. So we did pain, January, February, March. We then rested for a month. We're trying to look after ourselves. Right now we're doing big season on history. We'll have another rest, and then we go into Advent, something towards the end of the year as well. So, and in your bundle, you get brand new material, you get prayers, and you get online gatherings and stuff. And we do these specialist subjects. And the way we get our material is that we talk directly to the academy. We talk to the experts on your behalf in order to equip you in your life as the healing presence. So in January, February, March, we did something on pain, and we talked to the top pain specialists in the world, an amazing woman, pain psychologist and therapist and chaplain in the States, who recorded a podcast with us and helped us understand the role of spiritual health in pain reduction. I'm talking like physical pain reduction. It's just extraordinary. And that's a great example, because then we were able to draw out all the different things we do in our faith lives or in our communities that can help people tackle their actual pain. Right now we're doing healing histories. So we're looking at not only our history in the guild, but we're looking at our personal history. So in what ways do our genes that we inherited from our parents dictate our health and healing needs today? We're looking at structural injustice for Black people of UK global majority, the things that their healing needs particularly, and how we all need to understand this better in order to make a more just society. So we do so, and then in the Go Health community, you also get a brand new Advent course every year, a brand new Lent course every year. You get online self-led courses. I'll mention them in a second. Gatherings, we gather together. I know Caroline's been to one of our gatherings, and there's a community as well on Facebook too. All that for £4 a month. And we've got a special offer at the moment. I really hope to have it to show you. That's why I keep looking at my windows over here. I keep looking at my window. They're about to be delivered. It's called a journal, a new journal for everyone who joins the Go Health community, May, June, and July. It's called Journal for the Journey. I love a notebook. I'm really excited about it. A free journal for anyone who joins this month, £4 a month. You can't buy a journal for £4. To join in, and you get the entire back catalogue, including the pain season. We did a big season on burnout at the end of last year, all the Advent courses, things like that. So let me just move on. That's the Go Health community. And often people will join the Go Health community after the Everyday Healing course. So it's all connected together. Oh yeah, this is just to say, so this is some of the series we've done in the past in the Go Health community, the pain season as well. And we did a lovely thing. Actually, this has been our most popular thing to date. We doubled membership. We did a thing on burnout. We looked at all the burnout is such a problem with clergy, with Christians, with people in general, how to recover from or avoid burnout. Picking up on all the secular texts about it, there's a lot of secular good stuff around your personal health, but there's a huge amount in our Christian spiritual tradition about how to recover, how to work well, how to be a healing presence without burning out. So anyway, that was fantastic. So we also have online learning. Graham does these. If you see the pictures on the right-hand side of your screen are screenshots from our online courses or online self-led courses. Graham would say, if you can work a website, you can work the course, right? Because often online courses are so complicated. Like this is not. These are like beautiful website experiences. We release a new course every month. This is a screenshot from a trauma-informed ministry course that we did. We're based at the moment on our Dennis Duncan lectures, big national lectures, and we create a beautiful course out of them. They are free with the Go Health community membership. You get access to all of this as well, or the £15 each. And we release one a month. The next one is going to be on healing and mission as well. So in what ways do we find healing through going on mission, biblical based stuff? And we do a lot of bespoke work as well. So I'm a qualified coach. We call it Coaching for Courage. That's why I was so happy when Margaret mentioned that. So it's health mission coaching for clergy, but for all Christians as well. So how to stay well. And I offer it to non-Christians as well. And we do a lot of curricular development. We've done work with Common Awards, which is how they train all Church of England priests. We work with the Scottish Episcopal Church. Their training in the Church of Scotland. We do a lot of curricular development. So organisations buy us in to do some teaching. I'm also available for events, doing this kind of thing, but in person. Tend to be on healing ministry and mission, or a lot on well-being as well. And and I've shown you already how they're so intertwined. Anyway, it's important to talk about them both. At the moment, so joins and you'll get all the resources, all the back catalogue, all the online courses, and get to be part of our movement to change the world. That's what we're really interested in. Join us. We've got such an important mission. I don't see why you wouldn't join, but yeah, just me. And that's a special code. You see it at the bottom there, Bathwells EDH. That code will allow you and you alone, this is shared, so whoever goes to the group, to book any Everyday Healing course during May. So this month only, in May, book any course and there's 20% discount. And I think Caroline and Sue can share all this later, so there's no need to write it down. Links to the course and whatever. As a little thank you for listening to me. Well, right, so time for breakout rooms again. Sue, we're going to go back into our groups. So this is your 15 minutes. What question do you want to ask me? And I'll take any question. I don't mind. And that's fine. I wanted to use the space, also an invitation to tune into God right now, tune into yourself, tune into your guts. You know, our guts align with brain cells. Yep, so it's good. They're good things to tune into. What are you curious about? What's sparked your interest? I think curiosity is a way God really connects into us, you know. In what way might you want to, for yourself or for your community, deepen its healing mission? What's next for you? How do you need to feel inspired to develop your vocation to being a healing presence today? I'll stop sharing. 15 minutes, and there's a few minutes. I don't know, it'll be about 10 minutes or so, 5 minutes for questions at the end. I'm not screen sharing now, am I? You can see me.
No, you're not screen sharing.
That's great, thank you. Right, we've got maybe 5-7 minutes, depending if squeeze in any questions or reflections. And because it's a short time, maybe also if you're able to stick a question or a reflection in the chat, and I will try to answer as many as I can. Just wave at me. Can we go to full screen? Do that. I see these spotlighted. Speak. Okay. Anyone got a question?
We had one question. Sorry. Hi. Hello, Gillian. We had the main question that I'd come in with, and I feel like we've thought about it a little bit now, but I'm really interested in the perspective and whether you cover this in more detail, is about the pastoral fallout from if you are praying for physical or mental healing, and that this isn't, and that it doesn't seem like it's happening.
Yeah.
There is definite stuff within Jesus' ministry where he says, actually, I can't do this because of the unbelief. These things can't take place here because of the unbelief. So that's obviously something he says. However, as soon as you introduce that into the conversation, there becomes a process of who do we now blame for the fact this isn't working? Are you not receiving your healing properly? Am I not praying for it properly? Whose fault? And I've seen terrible pastoral fallout from that, where I think there is more harm done with that than the potential good that could be done from the healing.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested. We've just had a few thoughts about it, or I felt like I'd just come to some conclusion, but I'm really interested on what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. That's a really important question. And yes, I could start a whole new charity healing bad healing ministries, basically, because it happens so often. I wonder about why it happens. Our need to control, our need to have evidence of God. We all like to measure success and all the rest of it, but that human instinct. And that's where the theology of healing comes in. If we're really clear about why we're offering it, and what the outcome is and might be, if we're really clear that God's in charge and God's got the bigger picture, and we are always seeing through a glass darkly, then it protects us. I think you're also asking about leadership within a community, and ripples and repercussions, and how these things impact on others as well. And certainly something that we go into in the everyday healing course, getting people to explore their fears around. I think a lot of poor healing ministry it finds its roots in our fears, our own fears about what we understand God to be doing, and how we communicate that with others. So I think there is something around developing our own spiritual life, our own relationship with God, being really clear on what the theology of healing is and how to tell others about that, how to bring them along in the journey. And then healing the result of poor healing ministry as well. So something we do, but this comes up time and time again, Adam, I think. And when we have our gatherings, our Go Health community gatherings, that's often the prayer that's often the issue that comes up, and how we tackle it. I don't feel that's going to go away really quickly, as well, but it's hard work. We've had a thank you, and I could talk for 3 hours on this as well. So I'm very happy to connect further on this topic. Sally has put in a question. We talked about trauma of past generations that manifest in current lives and generations now. Yeah, so healing the family tree stuff. It's a fascinating question, the interest was the effect of trauma on the body. Yeah, trauma on the body. Yeah. So I recorded a podcast recently with Sharon Prentice, who's Deputy Director of the Church of England's Racial Justice Unit. It's really worth listening. It's always worth listening to Sharon. But I asked her that question around the traumatic implications of the slave in transatlantic slave trade. Because there was interesting stuff coming up around COVID. Black people died in greater numbers. And what was that about? It wasn't just around frontline working, because trauma has long-term impacts on our body. And what that is about, Hilary Eisen course on trauma goes into this too. If you're traumatized, you see the world as being fundamentally unsafe. And therefore your fight and flight thing is heightened. And when your fight and flight thing's heightened, cortisol goes up. When cortisol goes up, that causes inflammation in the body. Same with loneliness, actually. If you're lonely, you see the world as unsafe. If cortisol goes up, inflammation goes up. You're actually more likely to die from loneliness than you are from cancer these days. Such is the impact of that cortisol on our inflammation system as well. So in our history season, we are looking into past trauma, as well as there in the Bible, generation after generation and so on. It's there in our genes. I'm speaking to geneticist Mark Roberts about epigenetics, which is the expression of our genes. So you might have a gene. I think my cancer I had is a genetic illness. All cancer is a genetic illness. I had a very stressed childhood. So is there stress amongst there? So I had a predisposition, and then my environment. Then we were able to talk, and it's a sensitive subject, about well-being things we can do in order to reduce some of the genetic expression, not all, not entirely. And a key part of this is our spiritual lives as well. We are mind, body, and spirit. If you've ever been stressed and get a cold, you know that our emotional and spiritual lives can impact on our body as well. So taking a holistic take on this is important. But actually, this relates back to the last question we had there about blame culture and my genes made me do it kind of thing. It's in the family. There's stuff around inheritance. There's stuff, but there's also stuff around responsibility and action in our own lives. So that's a very long answer. Any more? Nothing? Just shout out. I can't see everyone. So if anyone's got a question. I forgot to mention our podcast we run, where I talked about all these interesting experts. I talked to a lot of them on the pod as well, so you can pick up the most recent one. Is Amanda Porterfield, the historian of healing in the Christian Church. That's just come out this week. And we have other ones in the past, and I've got lovely ones on burnout, about good ministry. So do check out, and we take prayer requests all the time as well, particularly on a Friday. It's Friday. And our community takes those prayer requests next week, all GDPR compliant and so on. So we're here to pray for you as well.
Gillian, one of the things that came up in our group was actually, you've talked a lot about the underpinning of praying for people, praying for healing. Just tell us a little bit more about the more practical aspects of praying for people that comes up in you, and how that's manifest in your course.
In the Everyday Healing course, yeah.
Well, in which, yes, through your work in general, perhaps.
Okay, yeah. So, it's like 1,000 answers.
Always.
Orientation's an interesting word, I think, Julie, when we talk about this. So, one of was a really good book, is collected essays. It's called Spiritual Healing. It's a very expensive book. You can get a secondhand, but the editor there is Fraser Watts, who's a priest and a psychotherapist and a psychologist and so on. And to his surprise, when he went into ministry as a psychologist with lots of brainy stuff going on, the healing ministry worked. And he was like, I'm not sure about that. And so he spent a lot of his life investigating it. And he talks about when the prayer don't really like the term, the person who's praying for healing, and the prayee who's asked for prayer. There's something about their orientation that's really important if we're talking about measurable results as well. Oriented to God. And whether that is God just making me better, which is completely human desire, or thy will be done, which might be a more theologically nuanced version of it. If the orientation is to God, then prayers tend to work out better. I actually spoke to, this is really interesting. I spoke to, so Amy Vackhouse, who is our pain specialist, she's on the pod. And there's a scientific study, 4 different people. So everyone's in hospital, everyone is in pain and needs physical therapy, like physiotherapy or something. And there were studies, 4 groups. The first group believed in God, prayed to God, but took their physical therapy seriously, right? They recovered best. So in terms of outcomes, so pain reduced and all the rest of it. The second group believed in God, but believed God would heal them. They didn't need to do their physical therapy because God was going to heal them. They did well, but not as good as the first group. The second group and the third group did worse. The third group and the fourth group did worse. The third group were those that were utterly ambivalent to God, religion, prayer, whatever, but they did their therapy. It worked, but not as well as the first group. And the final group were those who really hated God for whatever reason. God gave me this, God did it, but viscerally rejected. They did the worst. So we've all got our stories of when we pray for people and it works. But there's quite interesting science around this, and there's quite interesting broad studies around orientation. I think praying for people is also, just alongside that, I think it's important to say, it can be a really costly ministry. I'm training to be a coach. I've trained to be a coach, and they've got this thing when you're a coach is you are attentively not bothered. So as your coach, you ask questions. It's about the person, and that not bothered thing really bothered me, because when you pray, God's in charge. God's got the bigger picture. Prayer works, but people have really tough lives, and you hear terrible stories. And the more terrible stories you hear, the more you realize everybody's dealing with something as well. And I find it really hard not to be bothered. Like, I know God's in charge. I know I'm also not God. I can't be really, I've thought about it, but it still bothers me, and I still get upset. And sometimes I just feel, actually, I can't do it anymore. And that's when I know I need to look after myself, go for a walk, eat well, get some sleep, and all the rest of it, because praying for people can be really hard. We know God can do it. So that's why the self-care thing, I think, is really vital if we're engaged in healing ministry.
Yes, because there is something about praying for people that means that the person who is praying holds it themselves in some way, and bats it, as a friend of mine once said, bats it up to God. And actually, I think that combination of sort of being open to all of that is indeed costly, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, I've slightly gone over the time. I'm sorry.
I think we're all of a minute over, so I think forgiveness is actually hardly an issue.
Yeah.
Well, I think it probably falls to me to say thank you, doesn't it? So just thank you so much for just sharing the breadth and the depth and the wealth of all the resources that you've talked about. We've touched briefly on the costs. I mean, not only of the course itself, but actually the costs to each of us who is involved in this, and how we actually have to resource each other and hold each other in that. So thank you so much for just all that you've given us, and in appreciation for the costliness of that, to you in general. So we're very grateful. I think we should probably just mention what's coming up in the future, which I think somebody will magically produce a slide, hopefully. So, yes, so upcoming things are a celebration of lay ministries at St Paul's Church in Weston-super-Mare, where there will be information and resourcing about healing too. So that's on the 22nd of June in the afternoon. There is a change of date of the healing service at Wells, which is Cathedral Evensong, after which there will be time for prayer and healing, and will be on the theme of healing. And please don't forget that you can resource yourself, should you wish to do so, with the healing fora which are on our website. So, in thanks to everybody that's come, particularly, obviously, Gillian, and for all of you for participating so fully. Shall we say the grace together as we close? So may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all, now and always.
And forever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to all who've contributed.
Thank you, Julie. Nice
And-
to see you all.
And do remember, can I say this, Julie? Do remember that if you've got any questions and you want to find out more, you can write to Sue or Julie or I, and we'll be really happy to point you in the right direction and help you find who you need.
Thank you. Yes, I should
Thank
have.
you.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline.